Well, welcome back everybody to another Bricklink Designer Program set review. Today we're taking a look at Lost City. This is part of Series 3 of the Bricklink Designer Program, which pre-orders for all 5 sets will start here in just a few days on October 8th. I believe for here in the East Coast of the US, it's 11 a.m. and I'll leave all the details down in the description. Links to purchase the set as well. And keep in mind, because like other Bricklink Designer Program sets, they're limited edition. They only make one run of these sets, up to 30,000 copies. Sometimes they sell out, sometimes they don't. For example, the Mountain Fortress earlier this year sold out within a few hours. Others take a few days, some take a few weeks before they sell out. It's like Lego/Bricklink's own Kickstarter program, if you'll call it that. But they're limited edition sets, and this is no different. Now, of course, you might notice that I have the set built here. I don't have a box to show you guys. That's because Lego sent this very early. It won't be shipping until February, March of 2025. Even though pre-orders start in just a few days, it takes 6 months until Lego actually ships them after those pre-orders are set. So this is, of course, a very early hands-on review. Now, everything here, like other Bricklink Designer Program set reviews that I've done in the past, is final, so no design changes will be made. These are all the pieces here, no swaps or anything like that. And speaking of which, this set does have 3,506 pieces, making it the biggest set by piece count out of Series 3 BDP program sets. Now, its price tag, $290. And when you think about it, 3,500 pieces, $290, that sounds reasonable, but when you consider it only comes with 2 minifigures and there isn't too much going on within the set itself, it's a little questionable, and we'll talk about price towards the end of the video. I will say, first impressions, I think this is a real beautiful set. I love the aesthetics. I like the idea of ancient ruins. This is just captivating to me. It was between this and Forest Stronghold as like one of my favorites out of Series 3. But to be fair, all of the Series 3 of Bricklink Designer Program sets all look like bangers in this wave. Like previous waves, I've liked like maybe 1 or 2, but Series 3 specifically, all 5 sets look so freaking good. Now with that said, I do want to thank Lego/Bricklink for sending this early review copy over. And now let's go take an in-depth look of the Lost City. So there's plenty to talk about here with the Lost City. First off, there is no stickers in this set, which is quite refreshing to say. And there's quite a few new Lego elements that came out in 2024 that are popping up in this set, which was a little bit surprising to say. Now, first, let's take a look at the most underwhelming part of the set, which is the 2 minifigures included. As you can see, you just have a simple male and female explorer. Both are suited up with some coats and jackets, some gear, maybe a walkie-talkie and binoculars piece, as well as a pickaxe. So nothing crazy going on here, not too many accessories. And when you compare this to the Forest Stronghold with far more minifigures for $10 more than this set, well, the minifigure count is very underwhelming and very disappointing. I would have loved to see some natives from the actual ruins, but none of that is included, which is unfortunate. Taking a look at the first details, up at the front we have 2 giant statues, one of which you can pose in a couple different ways. It's on ball joints for those arms there, and there's not too much articulation, but enough where you could get a few poses if you so choose. The other one is badly damaged and really kind of brings in that ancient ruin kind of aesthetic, which I really like. You'll notice the head here is at the very bottom. It's actually stuck together on a Technic piece, and you can see the legs kind of coming apart. Now, as we make our way up these stairs and into the actual ruins itself, first off, right down the middle, straight to this big circular arch, you'll find the throne of whoever ruled in this civilization thousands plus years ago. You'll notice tile techniques, the arches, there's plenty of snot technique happening throughout this entire build. And then this main gallery area has something called a mirror pool underneath of it. So basically it's like a see-through, like suspended pool, if you'll call it that. It's really cool looking, and underneath of it is a little tomb that's opened. Unfortunately, you can't really get down there, and there's no minifigure hiding either, which is a little disappointing. But let's back outside for a quick second, take a look at some of these exterior details off to the right side. First off, we have this little stream or river happening next to the staircase, utilizing those kind of power pieces the Marvel figures uses. That's a nice parts usage in my opinion. You have this overgrown tree coming through this like walkway area. There's some bones lying around, little pieces off off to the side that are connected with some bracket pieces, making it feel like it's all falling apart, that it's been literally hundreds, if not thousands of years since it was last put together. Now, taking a look at the back side of the Lost City, you'll notice there is quite a bit of detail, more than you might expect. First off, we have a little skeleton here who's unfortunately missing his foot. It's just down the hallway. And then speaking of hallways, on the next floor, we have some nice detailed rooms for the explorers to go through. And as we make our way to the right side, exploring the different ruins, you'll notice this is now the back side of where that throne is. It's a pretty small room, and there's just a bunch of arches around it with these different levels that have holes through them. And you'll notice there's this, what looks to be a light, but really that's indicating droplets of water coming down into these buckets through the different floors, which I think is pretty cool. I don't know if the holes are meant to be like, oh, they've sunken over the years and so water's gotten through them, or that's just part of the design itself, hard to tell. But the explorers can make their way around this area, and there is a little hidden gem hiding inside the main roof structure that you can only see in this one area. Now, as for exterior details on the left, this is a far more overgrown part. You can see more of the building has come apart. There's even a fallen roof here into some vines and different leaf pieces. We have the new fern pieces also, some snakes hiding in there. I love the details. Unfortunately, there's no real hidden compartments here, which I think would have been perfect. There's a little kind of gazebo kind of perch area off to the side, and then we have this giant tree just growing through the roof, which is probably one of my favorite parts of the build. Now, in terms of the overall building techniques being utilized, they're fairly simple, fairly common, even in advanced 18+ Lego sets. A lot of snot technique throughout the build, but that's fairly common in more sophisticated Lego sets, so you're probably used to that at this point. No crazy building techniques that'll blow your mind, unfortunately, but I just love the overall color aesthetics. I love the color palette that the designer chose here, utilizing a little bit of that teal color mixed in with like sand green, regular green, olive green, all the greens you could want. And then I love, of course, light bluish gray and dark gray, kind of neutralizing all of that together. Now next, what if we switch out those minifigures with something a little more interesting? I thought it might be fun to show how you could utilize the set in other ways. So I've brought in some custom Halo figures. These are my own personal ones. And you can see with just a little ghost here, it automatically feels like a Halo 3 map. Next, of course, I had to bring in some Star Wars figures, so we have some 501st Clone Troopers going against some battle droids. This does feel like a world you could see in the Clone Wars era of Star Wars, and, you could throw clone troopers in the different ruin parts. You can have them hiding. This is kind of the perfect diorama to have a little battle scene. You could have clone commandos going through some of these areas. You could have a sniper hiding out in the tree like Crosshair. You can have a lot of fun with this. And it doesn't have to be Clone Wars era. You can use the Mandalorian figures. So I've brought in some Praetorian guards to battle against Mando. We have some regular blue Mandalorians here in the back. And honestly, you could consider this an area of Mandalore if you wanted to. And switching things to a more traditional fantasy aspect, the new Dungeons and Dragons minifigures, which I appreciate LEGO for sending these over for me to review as well, look fantastic on this set as well. This is a perfect map for you to play D&D with. Honestly, this is a contender against the D&D set. This is cheaper. So if you buy the minifigures and combine this Lost City with it, I think this could be a great map as well for you to play with. Because there's so many different little hidden areas and things that you could create utilizing your imagination, this is literally the perfect canvas for D&D. It definitely exceeded my expectations. Next, what if we do Lord of the Rings? So I've brought in some characters here, some orcs, some of our heroes, and it definitely feels like something out of Fellowship of the Ring. Am I right? Or maybe that's just me. Let me know down in the comments below. And finally, I saved the best for last. Of course, I had to bring in Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones and Ancient Ruins are like literally a match made in heaven, and you can see that Indy looks absolutely perfectly in place on something like this. So if you're sad that LEGO didn't make enough Indy sets last year, well, this could be the fourth and final set you've been looking for, and you can add that crystal to your museum. Now, lastly, let's take a look at some other LEGO sets to give you guys an idea of size comparison. So first of which, I've brought in the Nightmare Before Christmas set. Reason why is because they're actually fairly similar in terms of the bases that they sit on. They have similar building techniques there. Different price points, $200 for the Nightmare Before Christmas set, $290 for the Lost City, and over a $1,500 piece difference between the two of them. Now, next, I've brought in Rivendell here, which of course is the crown jewel of everybody's LEGO collection at this point. And when you compare these two side by side, well,
well, in my opinion, they look really good next to each other. They kind of blend well, probably because they both kind of have that forest aspects with the building being in the forest kind of thing going on. And I just like the overall look of both. Of course, I prefer Rivendell. It's the better set in every way, but the Lost City holds its own, especially when you look at the side profiles here. You can see the depth of both is fairly similar. And as I showed before, you can definitely put some Lord of the Rings minifigures on the Lost City and make it work. Now, what about a smaller set? So I've brought in the Lego Star Wars Indoor diorama, and obviously there is a massive difference in terms of scale between the two of them. And then lastly, let's take a look at the Legend of Zelda DQ Tree versus the Lost City. And surprisingly, these sets are very similar in terms of price. $290 versus $300 for each of them. The DQ tree obviously can convert into a different style of tree if you'd want to do that, and they're actually somewhat similar in scale. So what I really like about the Lost City is the fact that you can turn it into whatever you want, and I love that.
So if you can't already tell, I really like the Lost City. Yes, it's a little plain on the inside. There's not that many functions, lack of minifigures, but I think all of that gets made up with the beautiful aesthetics of this set. It looks gorgeous on display. It's definitely a standout from any other Lego sets that I have around here. It kind of matches Rivendell in terms of those pops of color, that organic nature. Those are the type of things that I really personally enjoy in a Lego set. And so this was just obviously hitting all the check marks for me personally. Now with that said, is it worth $290? I mean, it's a fairly good price per piece ratio when you consider 3,500 pieces for $290. That seems pretty good. However, then we also look at the Forest Stronghold, which is only $10 more, also part of the Series 3 Bricklink Designer Program set review. Probably a set you might be considering cross-shopping between these two. They're the most expensive sets out of the wave, and if you only can afford one, you're probably thinking, which one should I go with? Lost City or Forest Stronghold? Forest Stronghold for $10 more, you're getting, I think, 8 or 9 more minifigures, which is a... that's probably a high incentive in itself. That set itself looks really good with Lion Knight's Castle. You could argue this looks really good next to Rivendell, though. So personally, I'm still going to go with the Lost City if I had to choose between the two, just because I like the design. This is more unique, different looking. There's nothing else that LEGO is making right now that comes close to what this looks like. It's just new, different, and I love the imaginative possibilities with the set. You guys saw, you can throw in whatever figures. It's kind of like a extremely detailed canvas for you to kind of finish the little details with, if that makes sense. That's how I see the Lost City. And so at $290, while that is expensive, I think $250, $220 would have been more appropriate given the lack of minifigures, given the lack of features. I still think this is a very well-built set. I like the final result here. I think it looks great on display. It's super unique in my opinion. And I think you're going to enjoy it. Even at that $290, I think you're going to be very satisfied with the build once you're done with this bad boy. I do want to thank LEGO/Bricklink for sending this set over for review. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Are you going to be picking up one of the other Series 3 BDP program sets? Are you considering the Lost City? Do you think I'm crazy for recommending this set? I am very curious to see your guys' thoughts down below. Hope you guys have a great, wonderful day, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.